Hi everyone, I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from the Vatican. Pope Francis welcomed Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to the Vatican this past weekend. The president was in town for the inauguration of the Palestinian embassy to the Holy See in Rome. Abbas thanked the Pope for his support of the country's new embassy. The Vatican said the two leaders spoke privately of the contribution of Catholics in Palestine and their promotion of human dignity and assistance for those most in need, especially in the fields of education, health, and aid. The Pope and Abbas also discussed the peace process and expressed hope that direct negotiations between the parties may be resumed to bring an end to the violence and to find a just and lasting solution. The statement also said the protection of holy sites for believers of all three of the Abrahamic religions was also discussed. After the meeting, President Abbas said he hoped that the example set by the Palestinians' agreement with the Vatican will allow European countries to follow suit in order to achieve peace. More news now from the Vatican. Another busy week for Pope Francis. It begins with his daily masses at Santa Marta and ends with the Angelus on Sunday. Rome Reports fills us in on the rest of the week with the Pope at the Vatican.
The Pope maintains his usual appointments this week. Masses on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday in Santa Marta, and Wednesday's general audience. As every year, this Tuesday on St. Anthony's feast day, the Vatican will host dozens of farmers who will bring their animals to St. Peter's to be blessed. A cardinal will conduct the blessing this year. This Thursday, as well as every year, a delegation of leaders of various Christian confessions from Finland will come to the Vatican to celebrate the feast of the evangelizing martyr of their lands, St. Henry of Uppsala. On Saturday, the Pope plans to receive the President of Paraguay, Horacio Cortés. It will be his third meeting after Pope Francis visited the country in 2015. On Saturday afternoon, the Pope will celebrate the 800th anniversary of the Order of Dominicans with a Mass in the Basilica of St. John Lateran. He will conclude the week on Sunday with the usual praying of the Angelus from the window of his studio in St. Peter's Square at noon.
In news from Rome, Pope Francis visited the parish of St. Mary in the Cetaville neighborhood in Rome this past Sunday, as is his custom for parish visits in the Diocese of Rome. Pope Francis arrived in the late afternoon, held separate meetings with the children and teenagers from the religious education program and scout groups, with the parents of babies baptized over the past year, with a group of parishioners who are sick or have disabilities, and with the parish council and more than 100 active parishioners. Spending more than 3 hours at the parish, the Pope also celebrated Mass. And during his homily, he focused on the witness of St. John the Baptist, who pointed to Jesus as the Messiah. The Pope said that Christianity has spread throughout the world because people have given witness in word and deed to Jesus as Savior. One other note from the Vatican: just a few days ago, the Pope was baptizing babies in the Sistine Chapel. The Pope added a few more baptisms to his schedule the other day by baptizing children of those affected by the earthquakes in central Italy this past year. Rome Reports has more from the Vatican.
These 13 babies are only a few months old, but they have already had great adventures. They were born after the terrible earthquakes that occurred since August in central Italy. They are between 5 months and 5 days old. The Pope wanted to personally baptize each of them.
Questa è la nostra vittoria. È il primo gesto che noi faremo ai bambini, è il segnale della croce.
The Pope approached each family one by one and made the sign of the cross on each child's forehead. Those baptized and their other siblings were very elegant. Many parents could barely contain their excitement.
Alessandra, io ti battezzo nel nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito. Io ti battezzo nel nome del Padre, del Figlio e dello Spirito Santo.
As is tradition, these new Christians are dressed in a white robe, a symbol of the new life of faith that they have begun. It was a simple ceremony in the Pope's chapel, which these families will never forget.
And finally in the news, in preparation for a meeting of the Synod of Bishops focused on youth, Pope Francis wrote a letter to young people saying the Church wants to listen to your voice, your sensitivities, and your faith, even your doubts and your criticism. The Pope's letter was released January 13th along with the preparatory document for the Synod. The document includes a series of questions to be answered by national conferences of bishops and other church bodies. The document offers 3 chapters for reflection by bishops and youths. Young people in today's world, faith, discernment and vocation, and pastoral activity. The responses, along with input from young people themselves, will form the basis of the Synod's working document. The theme for the October 2018 gathering is Young People, Faith and Vocational Discernment. Young people, which it defines as people roughly between the ages of 16 and 29, will have an opportunity to contribute to the working document by submitting reflections on their expectations and their lives through a dedicated website that will be launched on March 1st. Well, that's all the information we have for you at this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.